shot. Pies out.
Here, one for you.
We'll be doing a lot of this, all right?
My cell phone.
What?
I need to call help.
Want some drinking?
Get the fuck out!
Jimmy, can you hear me? Stay with us, Jimmy. Is this Jimmy O'Brien's mother?
Amen.
In the darkness of a forest deep in the upstate New York countryside, a group of college freshmen stumble forward blindfolded, their voices raised in an oath they have been forced to memorize. Among them is Jimmy O'Brien, a first-year student pledging Pi Sigma, the campus fraternity led by an upperclassman named Stephen. Alcohol is passed around. The words of the oath echo between the trees. And the moment the last syllable is spoken, Stephen and the other senior brothers vanish into the darkness, abandoning the pledges alone in the woods as part of the fraternity's long-standing tradition. It is meant to feel like a rite of passage. It will turn out to be the first step of a nightmare no one in Jimmy's family can yet imagine. Miles away, in a quiet home, Barbara O'Brien is already awake. She is the first one up every morning, an Irish Catholic mother who prays her rosary daily and swears behind the wheel when she drives her kids to school. She has 3 younger children still at home, Kelly, Clara, and Sean, and a husband named Jim who has built the family life she watches over with fierce devotion. She fixes breakfast, gets the kids moving, drops them at their classrooms, and only then allows herself to breathe. But there is one child who is never far from her mind, her eldest, Jimmy, away at college and sharing an apartment with his best friend, a young man named Virgil. Barbara calls her son so often that she almost always knows what he is doing, and she knows he plans to pledge Pi Sigma. What she does not know, what Jimmy has quietly kept from her, is exactly what those hazing rituals involve, and how meticulously the senior members are documenting every recruit's humiliation on their own phones.
Fuck, boys, get on the other side. Is lollygagging over here? Don't look at me. Ain't you like that?
I want to shut the fuck up.
Dude.
I'm the guy here.
Get up, leave that. You guys pissed on me.
You guys all right?
Come on, guys, we gotta go.
That evening, Barbara calls one more time just to check in. Jimmy and Virgil are already dressing for Pi Sigma's official initiation ceremony. When the pledges arrive, they are welcomed as full brothers. But before the party begins, every phone in the room is confiscated to make sure nothing that happens inside those walls ever leaves them. The music blares, the alcohol flows, and in the middle of the celebration, Stephen quietly slips outside to meet 2 men who have been waiting for him in the shadow. Money changes hands. Drugs change hands. And when Stephen walks back inside, he already knows exactly what he is going to do.
Just man the fuck up, all right? I'm thirsty!
He finds Jimmy in the crowd and tells him it is time to prove he is a real man. Without Jimmy noticing, Stephen mixes the drugs he just bought into a bottle of alcohol before pouring the boy a toast. Jimmy drinks it without hesitation. Stephen pours another, then another. Then, satisfied, he casually walks away and leaves Jimmy standing there alone. It does not take long. The drugs begin to move through Jimmy's body, his balance goes, and within minutes, he is collapsing to the floor of the fraternity house. Virgil sees his best friend crumple and immediately drags him toward the bathroom, desperate for help. But Stephen appears in the doorway before Virgil can call anyone. Instead of helping, he orders Virgil back to the party and tells him to act like nothing is wrong. Virgil begs for his phone. He pleads with Stephen that Jimmy needs an ambulance. Stephen flatly refuses. And when Virgil is forced back out into the noise, Stephen summons several fraternity brothers to tie the unconscious Jimmy to a chair and pour even more alcohol down his throat while he lies powerless to resist. What is being done to Jimmy in that bathroom is not initiation. It is the cruelty of a boy who has done this before and gotten away with it. By the time Virgil forces his way back and demands that every phone be returned, it is already too late. Stephen finally hands the phones back and tells everyone to leave. Someone in the crowd dials 911. Paramedics arrive and rush Jimmy toward the hospital, his body limp between them. Across the city, Barbara has been trying to reach her son for hours, her calls going unanswered as a dread she cannot name settles over her chest. Then a paramedic picks up Jimmy's phone. He tells her Jimmy has just been rushed to the emergency room. Barbara and Jim tear across town, and when they arrive at the hospital, they find their firstborn lying in a coma he will never wake from. Jimmy's case moves quickly into the local news. His classmates hold a candlelight vigil on campus, praying for a recovery that will never come. Days later, at a church filled with grieving faces, a priest offers a final blessing over Jimmy's coffin. And with those words, the life Barbara O'Brien knew ends inside that sanctuary. Grief empties her from the inside out. The energetic, foul-mouthed, rosary-praying woman who used to command every corner of her home now retreats to the couch and stares at nothing. Sean pours his untouched cereal into the trash. Kelly and Clara begin fending for themselves. And the family that had always circled around Barbara now circles around a woman who cannot get up. Then a letter arrives in the mail. Jim opens it after coming home from work. It carries the university's official condolences. And in the next paragraph, it politely explains that the school does not consider itself responsible for Jimmy's death. That single sentence lands on Barbara like a second casket closing. It is not just the loss of a son now. It is the confirmation that the institution that took him has already decided he will be forgotten. But one night, a small light returns to her eyes. She stumbles onto an article online about Jimmy's case, and something in the details pulls her deeper into the search. She begins digging. She reads about other freshmen at other universities who died the same way, hazing rituals, alcohol poisoning, cover-ups, quiet settlements. She learns Jimmy was not the first. She realizes he will not be the last. And for the first time since he died, Barbara O'Brien has a reason to get out of bed. What is a mother supposed to do when the school that killed her son writes her a letter denying it ever happened? Barbara has decided on an answer.
I've been just sitting around, and I can't do that anymore. I gotta go away and do something important for your brother.
The next morning, she is the first one awake again. Breakfast is on the table. The kids are dressed. And when the family gathers around her, she tells them she is going to do something for Jimmy. She begins traveling to meet the other parents' mothers who have buried sons for the same reason she did, in different states, at different schools, wearing the same hollow expression she now wears every day. She sits at their kitchen tables. She listens to each of their stories, women describing sons named Carlos and others like him, telling her exactly what the mortician had to say about how their boys were found. And she records every word on camera, building a document of grief she plans to place directly into the hands of someone with the power to change the law. Jim, watching his wife pour herself back into the world, reaches out to an old friend named Jordan, who now sits in the state senate. Jim believes his old friend has the authority to push through stricter regulations on college fraternities. When Jordan finally agrees to meet with Barbara, she arrives with the recordings in her bag and a mother's hope in her chest. She lays her case out. She asks him to support real legislation, and Jordan ends the conversation almost the moment it begins. It is only later that Barbara understands why Jim's old friend refused her Jordan and Jim were once brothers in the very same kind of fraternity Steven now runs.
My boy just turned 18. I don't care. He was just a kid. Just give me a second.
Still, she refuses to stop. Her search leads her to the sprawling home of a woman named Maria, who welcomes Barbara warmly at the door and insists she stay for dinner with her husband Tom. Over the meal, Barbara explains why she has come. She tells them she is not fighting just for Jimmy. She is fighting for every boy who died the same way theirs did. Tom listens for a moment, then quietly stands and walks away from the table. When he is gone, Barbara asks Maria to tell her what happened to their son, Tommy. Maria's answer is only a few words long. Tommy was her only child.
They were never very close.
The next day, Barbara decides to confront Jordan face to face, only to discover he is hosting a donor event that afternoon. She has no invitation. She walks in anyway, pretending to be one of the donors, the recording still in her bag. What she finds inside stops her cold. Tom is there. Tom is the host of the evening. Standing at the microphone in front of a room full of well-dressed guests, he tells the crowd that both his son's death and Jimmy's were nothing more than tragic accidents. Barbara cannot sit through another word of it. Her hand goes up in front of the room. She interrupts the speech. And in front of everyone gathered there, she tells them exactly what was done to Jimmy on the night he died. But Jordan does not flinch. Tom does not flinch. Neither man is going to lift a finger to change anything, no matter what Barbara puts in front of them. She walks out convinced her fight has accomplished nothing at all.
Ma'am, everything okay?
No!
Then her phone rings on the drive home. It is Jim. He is sitting with Virgil, and Virgil has finally agreed to say out loud what he watched happen inside that fraternity house on the night Jimmy died. Barbara turns the car around, but she does not drive straight home. She stops at a convenience store first, and when she leaves, she is carrying several bottles of liquor and a stack of disposable cups. She stops again, and this time when she leaves, she is carrying a handgun and a box of ammunition. Then she rents a small house, a place no one will think to look for her. Some debts, the law was never going to collect. Some debts, only a mother is willing to close. The next day, Barbara picks up the phone and calls Steven directly. She introduces herself as an interested donor to Pi Sigma. She tells him she would like to meet. Steven, hearing money on the other end of the line, agrees without a second thought. Barbara returns to the rental house to prepare every detail of what is about to happen there. Then she drives to the Pi Sigma house and asks Steven to meet her in her car. He climbs in without suspicion. She is friendly at first. She is smiling. And then, the moment the opportunity arrives, the smile is gone.
Start the car! Something!
She drives him to the house she rented, and there, in a room no one in the world can hear, Barbara teaches Steven exactly what he taught Jimmy. Every restraint, every bottle, every moment of the treatment her son endured on the last night of his life is now his to endure. Afterward, she forces him to pick up his own phone and call his mother. With Barbara standing beside him, Steven confesses everything he did to Jimmy. His parents hear their son's voice break on the other end of the line, and their world caves in the same way Barbara's once did. Then Barbara drives home. She wakes the children the way she used to. She makes breakfast the way she used to. She sits at the table with Kelly and Clara and Sean and Jim. And for the first time since Jimmy died, the warmth of the old family morning fills the kitchen again. The children do not know what she has done, but Jim looks at his wife and understands that something in her has been finished.
Good.
After dropping the kids at school, Barbara pulls over and makes one last call. She calls the local sheriff. She tells him she wants to turn herself in.
I'm gonna need you guys to step up. I need you all to help me out.
The trial begins, and Barbara stands in front of the judge and admits everything she did in that rental house. Every detail, every act. She holds nothing back. And then the courtroom doors open, and something no one in that room expected walks through them. Steven is alive. Barbara had never actually killed him. She had let him live because she could not bring herself to hand his mother the same grief that had gutted her own life. And more than the confession, more than the revenge itself, that is the message Barbara wanted the world to hear, that no other family should ever have to bury their son the way she had to bury Jimmy, and that if the schools and the senators and the fraternity brothers would not do something to stop it, then a mother eventually would. Some fights, the courts refuse to take. Some fights, only a mother is willing to finish.
Knowing her son has died.
Why?
Because it's unbearable.